All right. Hello, hello. Today I want to share with you a couple instructional videos demonstrating how to use the Art and Architecture Source database from San Jose State's library. This is going to be the first in a series of 3 videos about Art and Architecture Source. And if you couldn't already tell, this is less of a video and more of a presentation providing you a brief overview and primer of the content you'll find on Art and Architecture Source as you start to explore it and use it. So, without further ado, let's dive in. So, what is Art and Architecture Source? Art and Architecture Source database is a privately owned database, and it is powered by EBSCOhost. If you've used other databases from King Library, if you've used an online database on any library website, you may be familiar with that name, EBSCOhost. They're a pretty big name in the online database world. So Art and Architecture Source is owned by them. And this is the largest full-text art and architecture database covering fine and decorative arts and architecture. So you can kind of start to think of Art and Architecture Source as kind of a one-stop shop for all of your art and visual culture research needs. So what exactly might you find there? So by the numbers, just to kind of communicate to you the breadth of content you will find on this database, Art and Architecture Source has 461 full-text art journals and magazines, about 63,000 images, 14,000 art-related dissertations, 371 art-related journals with cited references, and 779 peer-reviewed abstracts and academic journals. Again, very, very, very broad and wide, a huge amount of content on all types of art and architecture related topics. Now you're probably thinking, that's a lot of numbers, that's very overwhelming. It's great that they have a ton of stuff, but I don't know specifically what kinds of topics that they cover. These numbers are great, but they don't really mean anything to me. So this next slide, this is your non-exhaustive list of subjects covered on Art and Architecture Source. So just kind of take a minute and take a look at how many different topics, mediums, and movements that you will find information on this particular database. Again, you see art history and architecture, but there's also, non-Western art, advertising art, fiber arts, folk arts, industrial design. Really, when I say that this is I know I sound like a broken record already, but when I say that this database is a one-stop shop or can be a one-stop shop for your research needs, I really do mean that. This is a really great resource if you are just starting out research, if you are a seasoned researcher, if you've done research before and just want something that you're not going to have to hunt and peck for the resources that you're looking for. This is a really great database for finding a really nice variety of information that you may not get on the other databases, the other art-related databases that King Library's website has. Which kind of brings me to my next point. Who is this database for anyway? Who would benefit from the use of Art and Architecture Source? So this particular database would be a really great resource for both undergrad students and graduate students in the College of Art, of Humanities, and the Arts at San Jose State. I think any student in any of the art-related degree programs could benefit from using Art and Architecture Source, but I think in particular, students of the Art History and Visual Culture program would get a lot out of using this database. Again, any student in any of the art-related degree programs could benefit from the information there, but art history students, I think you will get a lot out of what this database has to offer you. So again, I said a couple minutes ago that many of the other art and architecture databases don't have the breadth and depth that Art and Architecture Source does. So I kind of want to go through with you what the other options are, and why. You're probably wondering, why should I choose this database over others? And I'll kind of get into that on the next slide. Again, I probably sound like a broken record, but I will say it again. Not all of the art and architecture databases on King Library's website cover the broad range of time periods, movements, and cultures and mediums that this particular database does. One of the things that I noticed when I first started using this database is that it is a great resource for anyone who is looking for art outside of Europe and the Americas. And once we kind of get into the next slide and look at what your other options are in terms of art databases, you might see why. So this is just a handful, these 4 databases, they're just a handful of the other art and architecture related databases that you may find on the King Library website. First one, Grove Art Online. It's a scholarly art encyclopedia, scholarly article encyclopedia. So if you are looking for images, visuals, audio, anything that is not an article or a research paper, you may not get a heck of a lot out of using Grove Art Online. Second one, we have Art Index Retrospective. And this is a database offering information on a variety of art topics. Again, we're covering fine and decorative and commercial art, so very similar to what you might find on Art and Architecture Source. However, Art Index Retrospective only covers a limited time period. It only covers art topics from the years 1929 to 1984. So this is about a 55, 65 year period, the early to late 20th century. If you are looking at art from any other period from other than that 50, 60 year window, you probably wouldn't get a lot out of this database either. Third, we have the Bibliography of the History of Art, which I personally have used, and I do think this is a great database. However, is strictly Eurocentric and Western-centric. It covers art of Europe and the Americas from the 4th century to the modern period. So again, a really wide range of time, but very, very Euro and Western-centric. If you are someone who is researching or looking for information on art of literally any other continent or nation that isn't in Europe or America, you probably won't get a lot out of BHA, or you won't necessarily find what you're looking for on BHA. And then finally, we have Art Bibliographies Modern. This one covers a really wide range of art mediums. As you can see in the description from King Library, we've got performance art, installations, video art, computer and electronic, graphic and museum design, theater arts, conservation, fashion. There's a really wide variety of art mediums, which is awesome. However, this is also a very limited time period as well. It only covers modern and contemporary art of the late 19th century onward. So that's a period of about 200-ish years. So again, not as narrow of a window as Art Index Retrospective, but still a very narrow window of time. All that to say, Art and Architecture Source is nowhere near as limited as some of these other databases are. So if you're not wanting to be limited by time periods, continents, things like that, Art and Architecture Source is a really good place to start. Okay, so you've heard my sales pitch. You think Art and Architecture Source is a great resource. It's going to be a great fit for your research needs. And you're wondering, okay, well, how do I locate the Art and Architecture Source database? How might I find this online? So the first thing you're going to want to do is head over to King Library's website. And that URL is just library.sjsu.edu. And then you'll go to that research and learning dropdown. You'll hover over that and it'll bring up these 3 dropdown menus. Under this middle one, research resources, you'll click on this blue databases hyperlink. And then once you're on this A to Z databases page, you have 2 options for finding art and architecture source. The first one is you can type in art and architecture source in this leftmost search box. Click search and it should bring up the database, or you can scroll through the A to Z database list. I think there are about 450 databases to scroll through. You can just scroll through that list until you locate art and architecture source. And since it starts with the letter A, you may not be scrolling for all that long. Okay, so that concludes our overview primer presentation on art and architecture source. In video number 2, the next video, we will go through the basics of using the database, so conducting basic searches and advanced searches, so you're equipped with a solid foundation for successful use of the art and architecture source database. Okay, see you there.